CP is up. CP, you want to do the
Hey,
prayer?
sure, I would love to.
Just so people aren't hearing me run my mouth the whole time.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you, Heavenly Father, for bringing us all here today, to fight this fight that we know you want us to fight, to save your children on this earth, protect them, bring them away from harm's way. Thank you for protecting those of us that have made it out of trafficking, and helping us fight our demons to be stronger people and help others. It is with you that we are strong. Thank you for everything you do. Amen.
Amen to that. Right on. Yeah, this is a it's a spiritual war being made on the children, and I think we'd be foolish to think that we could fight a spiritual war without spiritual horsepower on our own. It's just as
Correct.
humans. It doesn't work that way. This is not that kind of fight. I knew that from the beginning. Different than anything I engaged in the SEAL team, or law enforcement, or in the intelligence community, or in counter poaching. Um, it's different. A lot of the investigative tools and the intel collection and all that, and taking down of the bad guys is physical and maybe more conventional work than the spiritual side of it. But the motive to capture and harm children comes from evil, comes from straight from the pit of hell. And so
Yes.
we'd be wise to recognize that and acknowledge it and address the threat the way that it actually is so that we can be effective against it, right?
I just want to start by saying that I hope everybody in here has a blessed life and that everybody here fights the good fight. I started my account, quick, small, little synapses about me. If you want to see my story, it's on my page. But I started my account because my son actually talked me into it a year ago at 15. His mom actually helped me get off the streets when I met her. I was homeless. And she knew my story. She knew I had been trafficked for a couple of years. And I wasn't ever planning on telling my kid, and she told him. So he was convinced that I needed to share my story. So that this is me a year later on my TikTok sharing my story. I've been going through. I'm 41 years old. I've been going through therapy for a very long time. I have what they call chronic complex PTSD because of my experiences. But like I said, if you want to see my story, I posted it just recently. I've told pieces of it here and there, but I kind of just told my story of how it happened to me. I haven't gotten into details. Getting built up to where I'm starting to answer questions for people more. It's just a really, it's hard. It's hard to talk about when you go through something like that. Um, 41 and I still have flashbacks. I have somnization from it, which means I get physical symptoms because of my flashbacks.
You're not 41. Come on.
I am, man. My wrinkles are underneath my hat here. but
I'm going to have to learn
um,
that trick. Put my wrinkles under my hat.
Yeah, put your wrinkles under the hat there. I'm lucky I'm blonde, so I haven't gone gray yet. But yeah. So I was trafficked in the '90s. Real quick, I probably had people knock on your door selling magazines. I got suckered into one of those, and that's not what it was actually for. Um, so I was sold. I stopped counting at 100. But I'm guessing now about 200 times, just in talking to my therapists and going through EMDR and all the regression therapy and stuff that I've gone through,
Yeah.
somewhere around the 200 line. Um, and I've lived with a lot of shit in my life, excuse my language. But I just want to be here to be positive and spread the message that if you have gone through this, if you know somebody that's gone through this, there is support out there. People like this, and this. You can succeed in life. Like, I was trafficked for a little under 2 years, 1 year and 10 months to be exact, and then I was homeless for another 2.5 years. And now I'm an astronautical engineer. So you can change your life. You can succeed. You have to want to. And you got to have a support system. You've got to make your own family, and your own support system. And I'm here for you if you need that person.
Man, I like that. And you know what I'm learning, talking to so many of the victims, although their stories hurt me very deeply, I feel a pain when I talk to them, but it really encourages me, especially when they're ones who find at whatever length of time they can look back and they go, I realize what I went through wasn't just pointless and meaningless abuse. I see the beauty that can come from my pain now.
Yes.
And I,
Yeah.
I wouldn't have the ability to lift others up and give a hand to others and understand how important it is, how grave the situation really is, and how much harm and torment they're really going through unless I had gone through it. And so being able to go
Empathize.
through that and
Yeah.
understand it and now grow out of it and heal to whatever degree and start helping others is a bigger blessing than I would have ever thought. Those stories encourage and inspire me. And I'm like, man, okay, if there's more people that can start finding that path once they get free, that's a
It's finding
really
the.
good thing for our culture, for
There were
everybody.
14 of us that were in my trafficked little circle. The people that trafficked us, there were 14 of us. 4 of us were boys, 10 of us were girls. I'm the last survivor. Um, just last month, actually, on the 28th, my other friend that was a survivor took his own life. He just couldn't handle it anymore. He called me and told me that he was just done, and he took his own life. And so I don't have anybody that can relate to me from what I exactly went through anymore, and that's what I've been talking to my therapist last few weeks about, actually, because it's rough not having that support group anymore, because we've been there for each other through this whole thing since we were 17 and got away from it, because I was trafficked starting at the age of 15, and so that's been a little rough. But what I've determined is exactly what you said, that I don't want people to pity me. I don't want people to feel sorry for me. Like, I went through it. It was rough. I still have demons. I've been married 3 times because it's not easy for me to hold a relationship. I push people away. I don't trust anyone. I have hypervigilance. I can't even sit in the middle of a restaurant because I can't stand to have somebody behind me, which is why I'm sitting with a fence behind me
Yeah, but
right
you
now.
didn't quit. And look at what you're doing as a profession now. I mean, it's just again,
Yeah,
I mean, you went through it rough, and
I
it still impacts you, but you're pushing through it anyway.
I
That's
wouldn't be the man
encouraging.
I am today had I not gone through that. And that's kind of what I'm getting at. I would not be who I am. I wouldn't be sitting here in this beautiful house that I have with this family that I have. I have an 8-month-old IVF daughter. I have a 16-year-old son. I wouldn't be here had I not gone through that. Um, I had a rough childhood. I had my teen years completely sucked, but I took it into my own hands to make my adulthood the best I could. And I can
Yeah.
empathize with people. I can understand what people are going through. I have the drive to help people. If I see a homeless person, I help them. I've taken my shoes off while I'm driving, gotten out of my car and handed it to people before, and
Wow.
driven home without shoes
Yeah,
on.
most people would
And
never
I'm
do
not
that.
capping,
You know,
like, that's the truth. I got receipts.
some things get very real. When
They
you
do, they do. I care about everybody, and I try to spread as much positivity and love as I can. And I think that if I help one person, then that's my legacy right there.
yeah.
I it doesn't matter what my professional life is. It doesn't matter about anything. As long as I can protect my kids, help protect other kids, and just change one person's life and help them get out of that darkness and see
Yeah.
some light, then it was worth it all to me.
Yeah. It's amazing how trying to help others and directing your energy to lifting someone else up can make you
Feels
feel
good.
better. And
Yeah,
it
it can feel
takes
you.
your brain off of your problems and your challenges and setbacks, and it just your chemistry, it's like your soul just rises because that's what we're meant to do, help
Uh,
others and give
yeah,
and love, and it works, man. It's just cool.
it
What do you
does.
think of all this, Kim? I know you got thoughts.
Absolutely. CP, it's so nice to meet you. I really appreciate you for being here, first of all. It's really good to meet you. Just so
I
you know,
watch
I
your
want you to
show.
know, thank you. I want you to know that you're not alone in this fight and that those are not just empty words. I was actually born and raised into an environment where I was trafficked until the age of 20 when I left or escaped. So there's not a lot of people that can relate to us. There's not a lot of people that understand this. Unfortunately for you and I, it's not something that we can necessarily forget, but there is such a powerful form of retribution in what we're doing now because we know the enemy. because we know exactly what this opponent is like, the way they operate, the way they think, the tactics they use. We have such a powerful advantage, and in my opinion, responsibility to share our knowledge with other people. And to me, just like Craig was saying, there's such a powerful form of healing when you focus on helping other people. You know, there's a saying that hurt people hurt people. Healed people also heal people. And I personally, so in my experience, you know, coming out of this, you just know that you're not normal. You know that the world is this big, scary place. You don't trust people, exactly like you said. But when I came to the understanding that this wasn't just one isolated, weird thing that happened to me and a bunch of people I grew up with, this is happening all around the world, but specifically all over our country in this day and age. Like, I was just not okay with standing by and letting that happen to other children. So in my case, it's not about going after my abusers, but it is about paying it forward in the way of making other people aware of what to look for and how to help their kids avoid this. But it's also about making the public aware of what this enemy looks like and the way that they operate. So I'm here for you anytime you want to talk, man. This, like, for real. Anytime. We, like, you, I think you found your tribe, because none of us are necessarily normal, but all of us have this fierce passion to do right and to protect these children. So again, thank you so much for being here. I don't know if you realize how powerful your story is and how necessary it is for people to hear from people like us and for us to be able to make this positive difference in the world. So thank you for using your light for this.
There's a reason.
I joined the Great
bro.
Funding movement. I don't know if you guys know them, but they're a family to me. And the whole mission, there's 8.7 million followers now, and the whole mission is to take pedophiles and scammers and trolls off of social media. And that has given me a light, you know, and then through them I actually met, you know, you guys and everyone else, because it's just been great. Like, TikTok's been an amazing way to meet people. I've sat alone, you know, for years at a time, literally just working and not having friends, not doing anything. And now I have like an outlet to share my story, to shine my light and try to help other people. So I love it, and I appreciate you guys for having me here.
Yeah, absolutely. One last thing on that. I think one of the most empowering forms of retribution is also, there's a difference in telling your story from a place of empowerment. So there's no finish line to healing, right? But there is a difference in someone who has faced this and overcome this and healed, which could still be a lifelong journey. But when you're telling your story from a place of empowerment and, again, to educate others, is very different than telling it from the place of still living in that victim mode. So when you were a helpless child, you didn't have a voice. You didn't have the means to advocate for yourself. And now you do. And again, to me, that is so beautiful that we can prevent hundreds of thousands of kids. Now that the internet exists, we can run this message loud and clear throughout the internet. It is people's responsibility to protect their own kids, but most people don't know what's obvious to you and I. Most people don't get it. They walk through the world unaware. So it's not that that's their fault. It's that we're here to raise their awareness. We're here to heighten their senses and help them know what to look for. I can tell by the way you shared your story, you have a lot of power. You're here for a reason. There's something there's something big for you. And we're really, really glad that you're standing here with us. And again, thank you.
Thank you.
And I like that tribe mentality. I mean, you know, everybody rally around CP, folks. Make sure he's never without tribe, and because this effort will only be what we make of it. And we see that, you know, with the big entities that should have this problem solved haven't, and so we the people have an opportunity to do something. That's the good news. There's a huge, horrific epidemic of child harm is the bad news. The good news is we get to do something about it. We have the opportunity to figure out and link arms and do whatever we decide to about it. And I celebrate this kind of networking because good people are extremely powerful when we network and when we're up to doing the right thing. You know, I think the big man upstairs respects that and will back us. And so that'll be a really good thing. Mr. Boyce, we haven't called on you yet to talk. Would you like to pipe in and share your thoughts on any of this?
I would. First, I would like to let CP know, brother, we're all here together. I may not be able to relate to your story, but I definitely know what pain is, like a lot of people in here. So if you ever need an ear or someone to talk to, I got you. On the other hand of that, I have a very large platform, and I would love to use this platform to get out your message. Because I know how hard it is to spread the message on here when you're only getting a few hundred or maybe a few thousand views on your videos. However, I was in a live yesterday and I was talking to somebody about joining this live today, and they told me that they don't do politics and religion in their life. And I immediately left and I blocked them because that's not politics and religion, you guys. This is not a hot topic, y'all. It may be very sensitive and it may be a trigger warning for some, but this is something everyone has to have a part in. I've got 3 boys and 3 girls. I could not even fathom the idea or what it would do to me and my family if something like that happened to one of my children. So I'm going to take the 2.1 million followers and all of yous I get and all of you guys in here, and I'm going to elevate this platform of child rescue, Veteran for Child Rescue, and any other platform on this application that needs to be elevated to a point where everyone has the opportunity to hear what is your name again? I'm sorry, at the top box.
Kim.
So we can give Kim a louder message. So we can give the host here a louder message, Tyler a louder message, Mayfly a louder message, and importantly, CP a louder message. So with that being said, if you guys need anything at all from me, please come to me and let me know what I can do to elevate everyone's voice, because I do have the power to do so.
Yeah, well, that's great. I mean, Lord knows we've got enough suppression from big tech. Well, they don't want this truth getting out. They don't want to be exposed, trafficking children. They certainly don't want anything done about it. And so we have a hard time getting the truth out, just factual evidence of these court cases and wins and convictions and rescues and recoveries. They won't publish that. And even the hashtag Save the Children got killed by Instagram and Facebook. They killed
To
it.
be honest with you guys, I'm surprised that you're still operable on this application, to be honest with you. Yeah. I told Tyler when he first came to me, I said, I will do what I can do, man, but there's only so much because I don't want to lose my account. But now, so for some of you guys out there that don't know this, for us out here, I don't want to say regular people because we're all people, right? But for some of us that's never, ever experienced what these lady and gentleman here has experienced, it sounds like a story to us. So we don't really see the importance, or we don't see how real it is until we talk to people like CP and Miss Kim up there. And now I've spent many of days in this live. I see how real it is and how hard it hurts me on the inside. So I am at this point, I don't care what it takes. If I lose it, I can build another one rather quickly. So I'm willing to do whatever it takes for the child rescue and Veterans for Child Rescue to help you guys succeed here and grow. We've got 194 people in here.
Yeah, well, imagine working for a platform that is against safeguarding children.
Imagine
what
that.
A horrible thing to be against. I mean, I'll never back off of saying, hey, we shouldn't harm children. I mean, that seems like the most no-brainer cause. But yeah, these are weird times.
But they want everybody's dollar. They want everyone's dollar, not just mine, not just yours. They even want the dollar from the people that are doing these things. So to them, it's about the money. They don't care about your feelings. They don't care about our children. They don't care about our thoughts or anything like that. All they care about is that bottom dollar. And if it comes from a predator, then it comes from a predator. They don't ask questions.
You know what? I've told my wife this multiple times. I finally see, with as badly as our society has gone and how ridiculous some people have begun behaving, I finally see why God told Noah, just start building a boat. just trust me, just start building a dang boat, because I'm going to flush this place.
Yeah. Well, get ready, because he said he would never flood.
Right now, but it sounds like we may be danger close to that.
He said he wouldn't flood the world again, you guys, so you better be prepared for what's coming next, because I don't think it's going to be as pretty as the last time.
Right. Yeah. I mean, talking about, not to interrupt you, Noel, but talking about
TikTok,
you're fine. I posted my story just last week. As soon as I hit 60,000 views, which is by far my most viral video on here, I got an account warning that if I have any more reports, then I'll lose my account. And they
Yeah,
put
you know who's reporting you, right?
they put the whole stupid thing on it where you have to click into it to actually see the video now. So they put that warning on there too, that it's triggering, blah 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 blah. So I was like, it hit 60,000. It was going, nobody, and then it hit that, and then I got an account warning. I was like,
Yeah. Well,
you're
so
really
you
trying
got
to
to
stop
learn how to work
me because
TikTok,
it's
you guys.
spreading? It's
There's a way to get your message across and get people to go to certain areas of this application without using the words that get you in trouble on here. So I'm going to use an example. If I was to take child rescue page and put it on my page and ask people to follow it, they would give me an integrity and authenticity warning and take down my video. So instead of doing that, what I would do is I just go in there and say, hey, everybody, you should join me in my live. The description is down here, or the name is in the description. So when someone sees that description, they click on it, it takes them over there. There's no harm, no foul. So we've all got to learn other ways of working around TikTok to get our voice out there. And I can teach you guys exactly how to do that.
yeah, I'm down. I'd love to learn.
Hostile times, man, for the truth. So sad.
It
It
is.
is
Can you
sad.
Well,
imagine
here's to
being so
everybody who
upset?
fights through. Here's to everybody that doesn't quit in ugly times when evil is prevailing and it's hostile for the truth. Here's to those who pick themselves up and say, "No, I'm not okay quitting and sitting on the sidelines. The children are worthy of protection, and I'm going to step in and speak the truth, and I'm going to make my mark to make a positive contribution to humanity because I just can't bear watching it happen and not trying." So here's to everybody that gets in and does whatever you can.
Amen,
That's what
Yeah.
it
Sage. All
takes.
right. Well, I'm going to give the box up to someone else. Thank you guys for allowing me in here. And again, please make Tyler or Kim, you, any CP, any one of you guys, get a hold of me. Anything that you need to help me further your guys' movement here, please contact me, and I will do whatever it takes.
Okay, very good.
Thank you. We appreciate
Thanks,
you.
Thank
brother.
you.
Appreciate you, sir.
Much love, everyone.
I'm going to address a few comments that I'm seeing. There's some interesting things, and moderators, thank you all so much because you guys are amazing. So we're cleaning up, or they are cleaning up some things real quick. It's just interesting to me that people would come in, like, of all the things you could do with your life or your day, you're on TikTok, and instead of, looking at someone who's advocating for children and being like, oh, that's cool, or like maybe leaving a heart, or just nothing, just scroll by. It's interesting to me from a purely psychological standpoint that someone would be like, you're not doing it right, or you guys are stupid because something you said. Like it's I have a dark sense of humor, so it's just interesting to me that someone would even think along those lines. But believe us, it does not offend us personally. Like, this is not a personal offense to our integrity. It is, though, educational for those of us who are actually in this fight and doing something positive. It's interesting that people relate this to something like religion or politics. It's not that those have nothing to do with this issue. It's not that, for example, politics doesn't contribute to this issue, but just realize that, one, this is not a political issue. This is not a team red or team blue issue. This is about the children. Two, this is actually much bigger than politics. So yes, while politics plays a role in the overall culture, this is bigger than politics. This goes beyond borders and countries and genders and age and religion and every type of social construct you could box yourself into. This is not about politics. I cannot emphasize that enough. So it's interesting that people will assign a political agenda to it, or they'll start saying, yeah, but what about the open borders? Yeah, but what about government, politicians, etc.? It's not that we disagree with you. It's that leaving the blame to someone else or saying the problem's too big, so I'm just going to do nothing, is not helping the children. And that is what we're here to do. So to CP's point, for people like him and I, if all we could do was help one child or 10 or 50 children, that matters. If one person could have had the courage and the awareness to make a difference for us when we were children, it would have mattered, guys.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't understand that, first of all, there is something all of us can and should do to help with this. Even just as much as being aware when you're in public and safeguarding the children around you, making sure this doesn't happen to your children. We're not here to instill fear and make everyone, be afraid of the bad guy. We're here to share knowledge, which is power. And we're here to also tell you exactly how you can get involved and be part of the solution. So let's not bring up politics. Let's keep focused on this very important topic. We have a lot to talk about today. So for everybody in the comments, again, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for sharing this message. We are specifically here to talk about how to help children avoid child abuse and trafficking. So Vets for Child Rescue is a nonprofit. We are dedicated to exposing and eradicating child trafficking in the USA. For more information, you can check out our website. It's v4cr.org. Made it super easy for you. Tons of free resources. You can learn all about this. And thank you so much, Swifty, for joining us.
Yes, Swifty, welcome, dude.
Thank you for having me. Sorry about that.
I was going to say real quick while he's clearing his throat, you know, Americans have a lot less situational awareness than people do around the rest of the world. Third world countries, there's stuff that's broken all the time, and you have to be pretty crafty, pretty alert to get home from school a lot of times for a child, because the bridge is out and 18-wheelers, you know, unstable, and it runs off the road, and all kinds of things are broken and don't work, and there's bad people and corruption, and kids have to have their head on a swivel, and adults too, and they're a lot more aware than we are in our country. And special operations warriors, man, we're trained on all kinds of stuff, and one of the main things is, you'll notice about a seasoned operator, he's always looking around and he understands his environment and what's going on around him. And so many Americans are conditioned to be the opposite. Their heads are down in their phones, their minds are overwhelmed with problems, and they don't see anything. Like I talk about my daughter Aspen. I used to take her, you know, with me wherever I could, sometimes into the grocery store, and I would say, Aspen, you see these ladies walking out of the grocery store? Like if I was in a Barney, big purple Barney suit, walking behind them, creeping them like in a big show, like I'm going to get you, like playing monster, how long do you think it would take before they would realize I was there? She's like, some of them would never see you. I'm like, isn't that not optimal? It's just like, yeah. Right. I'm like, okay, don't be that person. When you walk the street, look both ways, understand, put your head on a swivel and scan once in a while and look at what's going on, and ask yourself if everything's okay. And if you're a little bit more situational aware, you can see danger coming and have a lot better odds than if your head's down on your phone and you have no clue. So that's just one more thing to add to the totality of it. But Swifty, I'll let you talk. We just brought you in. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. First off, for CP, I want to say I applaud you. I applaud you for coming forward and telling your story. You know, I applaud anybody that will come forward and tell their story. But the reason I say to you is, not many men will come forward and tell a story like this. More men would feel like they aren't. I don't want to use the word manly enough to say, "Oh man, I'm a guy. This can't happen," but it can happen. It does happen. It happens a lot. And for you to come forward and tell your story, I mean, brother, my heart's out to you. And what it's you and Miss Kim, right? Kim,
yep.
What Miss Kim are doing, whether you know it or not, I believe what you guys, within telling your story, what you guys are doing is helping not just children, because remember, there's not supposed to be children on this app, but these parents may be more aware, like he said, of situational awareness of their children. We talk about, we actually had this discussion earlier in one of my lives, a little bit about, you know, people getting upset with quote unquote TikTok about children being on here, trying to change it so children can't be on here. It's not a child problem. It's not a TikTok problem. It's a parenting problem.
Yeah.
You know, if the parents were more aware of what their children were doing, maybe they wouldn't be on TikTok. Maybe they wouldn't be on certain sites. You know, and to me, that's what I'm saying is you guys are bringing awareness towards hopefully more of the parents to understand that, hey, look, this is not just an orphanage thing that happens. This happens day in, day out at your local truck stop, at your local grocery store. I mean, it's a huge, huge epidemic, and it needs to be stopped. I mean, it needs to be stopped now. And bringing this awareness is the way it's going to have to happen. You got to keep spreading the word out to everybody that this is not right. This should not happen. I would not want my child taken from me in any point in time.
People would be surprised
And
at
I
some
don't.
places I was sold to. Like, that's the only way to say it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I was sold. I don't want to get banned on here, but I went to trailers. I went to mansions. I was everywhere in between. You know, it's everywhere. Like, when I was an adult, I was homeless in Denver. That's where I got away from them. I tried to kill myself, and that's how I actually get away from them. Through the hospital, I got through the hospital, got away from them that way, and I basically ran away. And they weren't able to find me for a while. They did find me 2 weeks later. They tried to beat me to death. They thought I was dead. Long story. I've got the story on my page, but point being that I went to Phoenix. That's where I ended up moving for my job, and I went to this. I met this guy, like made friends with him. I went to the street, and it triggered me. I had been on that street before when I was 16 years old, and it just all came back. Like, it was like I couldn't even go visit my friend anymore. He had to come to my house because I remembered everything that happened in that house, and the guy still lived there. You know, he's an old man now, but statute of limitations, like somebody said here, there's nothing you can do about it at that point. But just
Well, it is.
situational awareness, like, people, it's everywhere around you, and you don't even realize it's there. That was my point. Sorry.
Yeah. I want to back you up, Swifty, when you said that it's awkward for the guys because they don't know how to feel about it. Well, there's a number of very ugly things that type of abuse does to a little mind. And one of them on the male side, and I'm learning this from talking to numbers of adults who can tell me now what they went through. And I mean, guys in every profession. I've met spec ops veterans, hardcore warriors, and famous rock and roll musicians. I mean, you name it, all walks of life that have gone through this in one form or another in their childhood. And they talked about how conflicted they were. Like, as a boy, I don't even know how to process. Like, am I part of this? Am I wired that way? Why didn't I fight back more? And of course, you know you got to start realizing you're a child. Your brain's not even developed until 23 to 25 years old. A child's mind can't even figure out how to work themselves out of that against a full-grown predatory adult with a mind intent on getting what he or she wants. Child has no chance. And not having won the fight, so to speak, it does a number of guilt and confusion and all kinds of things. It's all horrible, horrible that a little mind should never have to deal with. And
Yeah.
so, man, I just really pray for a lot of healing.
I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, no mind, no child's mind, or you know, I would say adult mind should ever have to go through any abuse. First and foremost. Also, I heard him say about the statute of limitations. Yeah, there's a statute of limitations, but why? My question
Right.
is why? You get enough people, you go to your local judiciaries to try to get it changed. Remember, a fire starts with a spark. All it
Yeah.
takes is a spark, and that wildfire can go. And once that does, and it captivates and keeps going on, you can get those statute of limitations changed.
Yeah.
That's something that I feel like everybody in this room and that can talk to somebody or tell somebody else, if we can all get together and go to our local judiciaries for that, to start off with there, you get those changed, that helps out even more,
Right.
because there are numerous pedophiles out there that are still out there because of statute of limitation laws.
And other weaknesses in the system. And look, coordination is key. Bad guys are coordinated. In some ways, their machine of destruction's running very well oiled and efficiently. And shame on us if we don't coordinate and share lessons learned and share techniques and um, and and successes on asserting ourselves with legislation and demanding better enforcement. And I think we have enough laws. It's just we need them enforced. And there's a number of reasons now why a lot of the laws are not being enforced and the children are not being protected. But that's all stuff I agree that we can overcome if we'll just remember our place, that we are the majority, we the citizens, and if we rise together and leverage our positions as voting citizens and demand and vote the people out who won't serve us, our will that the children be protected instead of destroyed, then if we coordinate, we can do it. And we just have to realize we got to get off the sidelines because the bad guys are winning. And if Alfred Kinsey in the 40s and 50s can start this avalanche of destruction as a science fraud, and now we've got an epidemic of child harm, then, man, what can all of us better people, because everybody that's on this cast right now is a better man or woman than Alfred Kinsey, because we know the monster that he was.
Yep.
And so if he could start this culture of child destruction, what can we all start to reverse it and recreate a culture of that's just simply healthy and protective of our little children so that they can get to 18 and start adulthood happy, safe, secure, well prepared. You know, I mean, that's all we're asking for. Whatever you want to do, and when you're an adult, that's outside the scope of this Oregon mission. I don't care what you do, just leave the children out of your bizarre, abusive lives, you know,
Right.
in the bedroom. So,
A big part of what Veterans for Child Rescue does is raising awareness. And that's not just a feel-good term that a lot of nonprofits overuse. It matters so much because it puts the responsibility in our hands. It puts the power in our hands to know the enemy, know what to look for, and know how to help our children avoid this. So a lot of
how to
people
fight
don't.
back. Yep. And
Yeah,
that's why
absolutely.
Kim's done such a great job at putting so many of these tools and information on our website. How to fight back, how to stand up for the little ones. Kim, continue.
Yeah, absolutely. We have a bunch of resources on the website, you guys. It's Vets for Child Rescue. We're putting it in the comments here. vetsforchildrescue.org. There are so many tools and resources. KevDell 2020, he says, who is the enemy? People who intentionally abuse children. Now I'm just going to put this out there. We actually do these lives every week and we cover different topics every week. So we post the replay. We post the replay on our YouTube channel so you can see all those different topics. We've done topics on healing and overcoming trauma. Last week we did a whole topic on how predators gain access to children to arm you with the knowledge to help your children avoid this and not be easy targets. So I've seen different comments about how long has this been happening? How does this happen? What can I do? But to Kev, who says, who is the enemy? I want you to imagine the mind of an adult who would intentionally abuse a child. I want to explain this to you because I think it's important for the public to understand. And yes, we're talking to adults, we're talking to parents on this app. Someone who would intentionally abuse a child, I want you to go into the psychology of that because I want to remove the fear from, ooh, these are these big, scary people. Yes, there are big organized enterprises, like Craig was saying. But the typical person that you might be confronted with or that your child might encounter, for them to be a person who intentionally seeks to abuse a child, I want you to realize that what they're looking for is to fill a void or to get their fix. And what they're seeking is empowerment. 100% of the time, 100% of the time, prove me wrong. These are weak people. And I'm talking about like mentally messed up, weak people who do not know how to get empowered by, let's just say, regular or normal or healthy means. So they prey upon the vulnerable, animals, children, women, people. And that type of sensation of power gives them that quick fix. They feel powerful because they have power to essentially overtake a child. Now, you and I both know that that's a very weak mindset. That's also a very pathetic human being. So I could use a lot of other words, but I want you to understand the mindset behind these people because people, that is the enemy. What you will likely encounter in your community, in your church, in your home, in your family, in your school, in your sports leagues, are people who will position themselves to gain your trust and your child's trust so that they can gain access to your children. These people are strategic. This is not
Unsupervised access.
unsupervised access. Absolutely. This is not a mistake someone just wakes up and does one day on accident. This is a strategic desire, and what they want is that sense of power. It's obviously false sensation of power, but I want you to be looking for these people. So without getting into that whole topic, because it's a long one, if you go to vetsforchildrescue.org or v4cr.org, we have under tools in education, there are so many resources. Literally, how to identify a predator, what is child trafficking, what is grooming. Grooming is the technique that predators use to desensitize the child and their family in order to gain unsupervised access to them. There are signs of child trafficking. There's how to report abuse and child trafficking. There's 10 ways you can take action right now. There's so much information. So again, what we're doing today is raising awareness. The reason we're doing that is because most people do not even comprehend this evil, much less know how to take action. So by all means, everybody can be part of the solution. I believe it's everybody's responsibility to protect children. And I say that as someone who does not have children. I'm out here fighting for the children because this is a humanity issue. This is something that affects all of us. It's something that affects our future. And it's something that is innately engroven into our culture. It is something that's happening right in front of us that most people don't even see. So like CP said, absolutely. There are children that this is happening to right now in your communities. We need you to be aware of that.
I want to amplify something that Kim touched on. Having worked in several different federal agencies and seeing abuses of power and authority and arresting a number of child predators and asking them why they do what they do, and hearing all the stories of the victims, the survivors, and overcomers, I have learned that those who are harming others, they're all weak. They are the weak-minded, and yeah, they are the pathetic. They are the most despicable among us. You could put them in any position and they will abuse it. You could give them any level of prestige and power and authority, they will abuse it against others beneath them. And that's why character is so important for anybody in a position of authority or power. As we, the citizens, elect and put people in positions of power and authority, they have to be people of good moral character and integrity so that they can be trusted when nobody's looking. That's the only thing that causes people to act in good faith when they know nobody's looking, is their moral integrity and character. So we have to get back to realizing that that matters, and that those who are abusive, and I've seen behind the curtain, folks, I have seen the pathetic old man pulling the levers like in the Wizard of Oz. They're the most despicable, disgusting, struggling souls you'll ever meet. But boy, if they have a major title and authority and they've got a head of an agency with a bunch of agents, they'll use it as a political weapon. They'll use it as a sexual weapon. They just abuse whatever they're given access to. And I said all this to say this: don't be afraid of these scumbags. Don't be afraid of these abusers, no matter what their title is, because they're weak. And I've learned and seen that they are terrified of morally decent, sound-minded, secure citizens who just have the strength of character to stand up and challenge them and speak the truth. Why are politicians crying and running in a frantic panic, calling concerned mothers at school board meetings domestic terrorists? What on earth threat could a concerned mother at a school board meeting who's asking pointed questions at an immoral school board, what threat could she be to a high-ranking politician, unless she's pointing out an agenda and a dark abuse that if she starts a crack in the armor and the whole thing starts to topple, they're all going to prison and they know it.
Yep.
And she terrifies them by daring to speak the truth. Folks, I'm not into terrorizing people, but I am about speaking the truth. And if you're terrorized by the truth, you deserve to be terrorized by it. If you're terrorized by the notion of the law being enforced, you deserve to be terrorized by that notion. If you're terrorized by people simply defending and protecting children in good faith, then there's something wrong with you. We, the people, need to realize our place. We are our brother's keeper. It is our business to look after children, whether they're ours or not. There's a right way to do it, but be emboldened, be encouraged to stand up and do the right thing in a respectful and honorable way, because that's how we start this avalanche of change. And we are the catalyst. We, the people, are the ones to do this. And yes, high ranking people that you would have never thought may be terrified about you doing it, because there's power in the truth. There's power in shining the sunlight on the rancid swamp, and the swamp donkeys, no matter what their rank, know that they're wrong and that they deserve to be punished for their behavior. And yeah, they're going to lash out and censor you and abuse whatever authority they can, but do it anyway. If your love for the children and your appreciation for truth and justice is greater, you'll do it anyway. And so I celebrate everybody who stands with us for the little ones.
I see real quick. I see a mama bear in here wanting to get into the box, so I'm gonna jump out and let some other guests come in because I don't want to be any kind of.
All right, CPA. Look, we appreciated you sharing, and
much
thanks
love,
for sharing
brother.
your
Much
time.
love.
And we'll stay in touch for sure.
Yeah,
Thank you, sweet.
definitely. Thanks everybody. I'll be down in the comments.
All right.
Thank you.
You know, and I want to say this. It's amazing to me. You know, looking around on your day-to-day basis, how many people get upset because their coffee was made wrong? How many people get upset because the store didn't have their special whatever they went to go get?
Right.
But these people should be getting upset over this right here, right now. If everybody collectively got upset over this and stood up for protecting our children like they do about a coffee that's wrong or something small that happened in the day, this wouldn't be an issue anymore.
Yeah.
But instead, we choose to, you know, put our aggressions and anger out on that cashier that gave us the wrong change back. I mean, really, these are minute things in life. But you have children every single day getting taken, abused, sold off. It could be your neighbor's child. It could be yours. This is where you need to get upset. Everybody in here, this is what should get you upset, whether you have children or not.
Yeah. We
Because
have the opportunity to
eventually,
do. Yeah.
yeah,
We got the
eventually you're
opportunity to
going
do
to have
something
that.
very powerful. Yes, sir. We do. Right on.
I just want to say thank you for everybody for doing this. Number one, I don't think parents are aware at all of the dangers that lurk in the. I don't think it's something that we're taught to check. Or, you know, even when TikTok came on and my son said, "Oh, this is here," and I'm like, it's not something that registers as danger. So I think it's definitely important to provide social media awareness. And the people, like I said, I've always argued with my husband about this. They don't need, for me, they don't need sleepovers. Like, you could do things during the day. And like, my dad was a nurse and ran in a maximum security prison and ran groups with predators and child people who abuse children. And it was, I mean, it was the hardest thing he's ever done, and he was terrified for us, and that was before social media. And then, in, like I said, in our town, or not our town, in our state, there was a man who was coming, literally they found the girl's phone. He was coming, he had groomed her by a different name, under a different, you know, a different username, thought he was a kid, and he was coming to get her from like Ohio in the middle of the night. Well, the parents called the police. The police said we can't do anything unless there's an actual issue. And the father and his friend had to take action when the guy showed up, and then have the police come. And it's like, there has to be a way to prevent this. And there has to be a way to to make parents aware of when a person is nice and when a person is manipulating your child.
Yeah. Yeah, we've talked about it quite a bit, but it bears repeating to that predators now stalk our children through their smart devices. And a child may not be aware that
Or their
of even the notion
Xbox or
that an
their
adult would pretend to be a child. And
right.
that the little cartoon or the icon or even the picture or even the video of a child may not be a child. And so your child may be talking to a full grown predatory adult who's who knows where. And that app, and some of these apps are very surreptitious, very sneaky, very harmful for your child, puts your child in harm's way. Some of them are taking surreptitious still images of your child, which the predator can send anywhere. They could do facial recognition. Oh, here's where the child is. It could do geolocation. Here is a ping on the map of where this child is. And so the predator can literally, and this is why you got to get into their phones or whatever and find out. The predator can follow your child from the school bus down the block and maybe grab your child at the
He's always
park or
followed
wherever.
my we share the same, so everything that goes through his phone goes through mine.
That's a smart thing to do. And a lot of parents don't want to invade their child's privacy. I want to respect their privacy. Well, it's not respectful if you consider what can happen to them if you don't make sure they're okay. The unthinkable, the unspeakable can happen to them. And so these are times, unfortunately, where we've got to invade. We have to love them enough to make sure they survive and not
And
terrorize them, not steal their joy or childhood, but get into their devices, understand what apps they're using, and make sure that they're not on our website as problem apps, and understand how that app functions, because some apps claim to be one thing, but they actually function as something else to
right,
fool mommy and daddy.
right.
It's this is a photo app, but really it's a communications app. So as one just
Even
notional
through the
example. So
Xbox, you can hear. I mean, people trying to disguise their voices or whatever games they're playing, everything's online now. So I think my biggest issue is everybody asks me, well, you're so overbearing, or not overbearing, but I'm so attentive that they're like, oh, did something happen to you? And no, it hasn't happened to me, but I'm certainly gonna watch for the warning signs in my child.
yeah,
Like,
yeah. If you
it doesn't have to
empathize,
happen to me to protect them. What?
yeah,
And they're boys. And people say, "Oh, we don't have to worry about the boys." You have to worry about the boys.
yeah, you absolutely do. We've seen that time and time again, and I don't think the stats are accurate about the boys, the percentages, because
They don't want to come
they
forward.
don't want to report it because I'm a guy. I'm expected to just eat the pain, eat the trauma, and press on. What am I going to do about it anyway? And so it never goes reported. And all the children. It doesn't matter what their gender is,
No,
or color or country or none of it. They're all
their
God's
brains aren't
children. They're
developed
all
for
worthy
that
of protection.
information.
It's all ugly to harm them. They're all worthy of defense. So,
They're
you
all
know,
able, and they're also innocent and trusting, and they believe what they see, and I think providing them an information that is at their level, their age level, I mean, into what grooming is, what what's inappropriate, if someone threatens you, or if someone says they're gonna hurt me if you open your mouth. Like, I always had small conversations that were age appropriate,
yeah,
because I
I
was
like what you said at their level. Not to steal their joy and make them
no,
terrified, because fear is
I mean,
a
it's
weapon,
enough.
but situational awareness they deserve to have, and there's a certain amount of information that they need to know to realize, hey, you know what? If I'm a small girl, small boy, if I'm going into, let's say, the restroom at a theater, I kind of need to have my little head on swivel and not let, somebody come in the stall with me before I start challenging them or even start screaming and run out of there to mommy or daddy, because
Well, I
those
mean,
people exist.
unfortunately,
And so,
it tends to be someone close or someone in around, and the kid likes them, and they don't want to get them in trouble, so they don't report. Even as a grown woman, if I were assaulted, knowing what I know about the justice system and what women have to go through, and our histories, and everything's evaluated, kind of like the woman's on trial a little bit, and just the exam that they go through, I can't even begin to imagine a child reporting, which is why statute of limitations makes me insane, because there's no way a kid's going to forget any of that, just like that young man was saying. And to me, I think a lot of prosecutors are just afraid that they don't have the evidence to pursue a prosecution after so much time, instead of pushing and getting justice for the adults that were children that were abused.
yeah,
Yeah.
there's a lot that we can do to improve our judicial system on how these cases are prosecuted, how the victims are defended, and in some cases, how innocent, um, how the accused are accused unfairly. That it's got to be accurate. We want it to be as rock
No,
solid as
but
we can make it. But
you have to watch your coaches, you have to watch all the people that they idolized. To me, is like, I have to watch,
yeah, it's no longer
because
just stranger danger. In fact,
right,
it's usually
it,
more
right.
more often than not, it's an uncle or a scout leader or a teacher or even a big brother or parent. I mean, we have to look after them. You know.
And
Well,
I got
and
2 points on that to go on to hers, well, and yours. Talk about situational awareness. Not only as a parent and teaching your child situational awareness, as a parent, if you're in a public place and you go into a restroom, you take your daughter, your son into a restroom, and you see another child in there alone. How many of you guys are always looking out for that other child when they leave that restroom, making sure that they get back to a person, that they're not just, hey, just lollygagging around somewhere? That's a lot of situation awareness. We as adults in good faith and mind can say, hey, let's make sure that this child gets back somewhere,
Yeah.
or even asking them, hey, is your father outside or your mother outside? Just making sure. That's something that we can do, as adults, to kind of help prevent some of this. We're not going to prevent it at all. We should be able to, but it's not going to, but just something like that. If everybody was like that and like-minded that way, it helps get that child back to safety.
yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know if you saw the video of the girl that was at the ice cream cart, and she saw a guy with the door open, and he was standing kind of far away from the car, like just enough room for a little girl to walk by that was buying ice cream. And the person that was attending the ice cream shop, the little cart, she literally walked in between them as he was trying to throw her in his car, and
Yeah, it was over in
pushed,
Southeast Asia, right?
yeah,
I
and
saw that
pushed the
clip.
girl away.
Yeah,
I
So I
didn't get
mean,
to, yeah, I didn't
that's
get
the
to see
type
that
of
one.
thing.
But
it's
the next
pretty
thing I
common
wanted
on
to,
social media. I hope you get to see it. My wife does
if
not
someone
like
has
the
that
mind
and
your
it's on TikTok, send it to my DM.
I'll
That
send
because
it.
that's a, and the
my
second thing I would like to say is, you talk about our judicial system being broken. I have seen time and time again, guys, and research. Someone that does get convicted with every shred of evidence, and I'm talking 100% shred of evidence.
I know
What
where
do they
you're
get?
going.
9 months? What do they get? A year?
yeah
They took a child's life away completely, because this child, no matter what age, will never be able to be a child again. They have to live with that through the rest of their life. Yes, therapy, I'm sure, will help. Yes, talking to people that's had it, happen to them can help, but they still live with that. And yet they're getting minimal time for this. That's another reason or another thing that we as adults can do. Go to, again, our local judiciaries, go to our congressmen, go to our whatever, but the people we help put in places to say, hey, we're tired of this. We don't like this. This is something that's got to change uh, because it's going to keep our children safer. Because this person that's got 9 months or whatever,
Yeah.
I would like to think our system
Well,
is
they go on the
perfect.
registry, but they don't have to. I found out a lot of those trackers don't work. A lot of those, I mean, the home, the home jail trackers, a lot of there's a lot of things that we think we're safe and we're not. And the other thing I said, Angel Eyes said the boyfriend that stalks single mothers. And I've seen that time and time again, on top of the fact that they literally look for the not the I don't want to say like the wounded, but they look for the woman that needs a man or wants a man,
Soft
and
target.
all they see is that little girl, and that little girl is like, and the mother doesn't wants to hold on to it, that relationship, so she either doesn't believe her or she negates the fact or sort of nullifies her view, and things get really bad. And
And
I just don't. I think there's not enough education for parents. I don't know how to use half the apps that are school related. There's four. And never mind all of the new apps popping up, and the Xboxes, and the all of it is just overwhelming to try and protect them.
Yeah.
okay, but I have a question for you on that. You say you don't know how to use the apps, right? So as a parent, would it make it would you make it your job to go learn those apps? Because then you could now understand them. See, and
Right.
I think that's. I'm not
But
saying.
I wish they
Please don't think
taught.
I'm saying
I
bad
just
parenting.
no, no,
Not by
no.
any means. Um,
I'm hard to upset, or like, you can't.
yeah,
It's
I
not
don't, I don't,
like
I
that.
don't want
I
anybody
get
to think
it.
I'm saying bad parenting. I'm just saying,
No,
as a
not at
general
all.
rule,
I
it's
just
like
think
if
it
I
should
didn't
be, you
understand.
should be educated. That's all. We're not even
Right, right.
educated on the apps. We're supposed to know about their grades. So, like I said, a night or two of educating parents on the dangers of the internet and grooming, and the people around them would be beneficial.
And I say this probably out of a little bit of experience. Young children, we don't understand something. I've got nieces and daughters that could teach me more about my phone than I know now. Plain and simple. But if you go to
Hmm.
them and ask for help, they're going to show you only what they want you to know. They're not going to
Right.
show you everything they know. So it's up to you as an adult to say, hey,
Right.
look, I got to learn this. If that means going on to YouTube and trying to figure all this out on how to go to these like secret pages that they can go to and block and everything, because these children know this already. I hate to tell you this, but these children do know this. But being able to find out how you can go through that so you can go on your own device or their device and say, hey, if you're trying to hide something,
I
you can see
have.
it
It's
before.
just, I know how to turn off his location app. I know how to turn off, but then Snap comes up and there's a location app. So, like, I know how to turn off all the location apps, but like what you're saying, it being like the other part of it, I'm I'm not familiar. Like, I don't even, if you don't know what to look out for, how do you even know what to Google?
One thing that might be interesting, if the kid, a lot of times the kid understands their phone or their device better than their parents or guardians, ask them to teach you. Might be some, quality bonding time, but sit there and ask them to show you their phone. If the more interested you are, the safer they'll feel, obviously the closer
Mm-hmm.
they'll feel. This open two-way communication, I feel, is so important with children and parents or caretakers, because one of the biggest issues is that this happens and either children obviously don't know how to process it, but they don't even feel comfortable enough to tell their parents. Or when they do tell their parents, the parent will disregard it or not take it seriously and not take action. So building this bond with them, there were some people in the comments earlier like, oh no, this is just too scary, too much fear, this is too negative. Here's the thing, guys. If you're not having these conversations with your children, someone else is. And I guarantee you would rather teach them these things yourself in the way that is appropriate for them than have some stranger on the internet or some friend at school tell them these things in a different way. So get to know your kid, get to know their phone, ask them to show you things they think are funny or weird or crazy. Like, they should be able to come to their parent with that kind of stuff and know that their parent is there for them. Like, you are going to take them seriously. You're going to listen, full stop. You're going to listen, and you're going to really observe what's going on with them. Parents know their kids, their body language, the changes in their behavior. That stuff isn't just random. That happens for a reason. Hopefully, not in every case it means that something this extreme is happening to them, but creating that communication with them is so important. So yeah, ask your kids to teach you how to use the apps on their phone.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's the same too. He knows, he'll say, I need to talk to you alone in my room, and he'll let me know if something's going on. But like I said, for years I've been telling him, you don't just trust anybody. It doesn't matter what, they look like, who they are, or any of that. But even on the phone, you don't know who you're talking to, period.
Yeah, 100%. Just so you guys know, on vetsforchildrescue.org, on our website, we have a bunch of different pages on internet safety. So there's general awareness and internet safety. There's a dedicated page called Red Flag Apps. This is specifically exposing some of the main, it's by no means all inclusive, but it's a massive list of apps that should not be on your child's phone. A lot of them are sort of camouflaged or disguised as something else. A lot of them are just straight up dangerous. There's also another page called Monitoring Apps and Parental Controls. These are some recommendations of a lot of different apps that exist, and we sort of list the pros and cons and give you a lot of options where you can monitor your child's internet usage. So by all means, it's not extreme. It's definitely not an invasion of privacy. It is your responsibility to know what your child is doing. They are holding this device in their hands that gives them access to all the information in the entire world. Like, look me in the face and tell me that a parent shouldn't know what a child is doing in that environment. You're paying their phone bill. You should have that access, right?
Yeah.
So please check out the website. A lot of really good resources on there.
Definitely will.
Yeah, my wife does not like the term "mind your own business" because when she was a girl, if people had intervened whenever they saw signs or symptoms, she could have been rescued from years of additional abuse. And so could the other children that were in that situation with her. So she really doesn't like this "mind your own business" phrase because she sees it as a psychological, a public conditioning of us just being where we look the other way. We're not willing to go, wait a minute, that child's at the park completely by himself. It's a 4-year-old child. I don't see any parents. Let me just wait here until a parent comes if I can, or ask them, well, where's your parents here? Are you okay? And just check, or if you're at a stadium, you see a child walking around. Hey, are you okay? Do you have your parents? Can I march you to the lost and found and stay with you until you're reunited with your parents or whatever? I mean, if we care enough to do those things, I mean, there's a lot of harm that we can prevent and avoid just from doing those kinds of things. Look after the little people,
Yeah. And I think having my child just turned 13 and they do change. So it's hard to kind of notice that change and this, if something else is going on than that. But it does start, it has to be communication. With your child, they have to, if they're going to have a phone, it's definitely not, it's not for them to, it's not theirs. You're giving it to them. Like it blows my mind that we're afraid to upset them about telling them how to protect themselves when we do fire. They do fire drills. We do drills for breach of entry into the school if something should happen. They're not afraid to terrorize them or, make them upset or afraid then, but it's perfectly fine if it's about a sexual issue.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think too, back to the situational awareness, man, with law enforcement investigations and surveillance and all that, if we realize, a lot of these predators will hang out wherever they can, not just online. I mean, a lot of it's online and apps now, but even still, physically, at places where children are, at parks, at malls, at stadium events, and these places where adults can be near children. If there's somebody loitering in a vehicle where their children are, or there's somebody loitering around your house, and if you just your spidey senses start going up, I encourage people to start getting to the culture of, we've got these amazing phones right on our cameras, and we could take pictures that don't cost us anything. So let's take pictures of faces, of vehicles, and license plates, so that if anything goes wrong, this dude's already known. He's already captured, and that can be turned over to law enforcement, and they can be brought to justice. It's a safety net. It's just one more layer of safety for the
And
kids and for our
even for the
neighborhoods.
child, like I've told my son, if you feel like something's off or something's weird, take a picture. Take a picture of a car, whatever you see that you don't like. And I mean, then we can investigate it if you don't feel it's correct.
Yeah.
And the
And even
same.
in hotels and so forth too, children being escorted in and out of hotels, if they don't look like they're with their parents, if something's wrong, man, just act
100.
like you're on your phone and grab some video. You can grab a lot of stills from a video stream, and privately just take
Mm-hmm.
take your video of them, and if something's gone wrong, at least you've got evidence.
Right.
There's
100%.
a lot we can do. That's why we can't cover it all in one chat, but we put a lot of information on our website because we just want it to be a one-stop shop, like an empowerment center where people can go there, get smart, get connected, and
Know
get
what the
involved.
know where the enemy is and
Yeah.
how to scope it out. Because like I said, I talk to parents and they are just oblivious.
Yes. Awareness is so critical with this. I want to address two comments I saw. One was from someone up there who said, I'm a nurse and I have my neighbor's kids are out there at 2 a.m. It really worries me. Awareness is so important. There's also our responsibility to take action, but to the point of, mind your own business, that bothers me as well, because something as simple as checking on a child, it could literally mean going up to them and asking questions. Realize you don't have to approach the situation out of with some kind of attitude. You can literally walk up and ask questions. I've had grown men tell me, oh my God, it's so scared. I don't know what I would do if I saw a child being trafficked. It's so scary. And like Sawman, I laugh, but at the same time, I really have to comprehend the general populace's view on this, because imagine being scared of what you as an adult are observing a child experiencing. Point two, if you could just do something as simple as approach the family or the child and say, hey, are you okay? What's going on? Where's your parents? Hey guys, it's 2 a.m. Are
It's
y'all all
2
right? I
a.m.
don't
Yeah.
think it's safe for you guys to be out here. Let's go talk to your mom. Is she home? Yeah. Go stand on their front porch and say, hey, nice to meet you. I'm so and so, your neighbor. I'm concerned about your kids being out here at 2 a.m. Like, I'm not trying to, on the one hand, call anybody out or make someone feel bad, but at the same time, the worst case scenario here, I want you to realize this. The worst case scenario is that everything's fine and you made sure that everything's fine and everyone can go home and be safe. That is the worst case scenario. So when someone avoids, right? When someone avoids, oh no, I don't know what to do, it's too scary. Like, what part of your ego is holding you back from checking on a child? It is so plain and simple to me. The other thing I want to address, Phil G said, you don't need to worry about anyone else grooming your children. They'll come to you if something's weird.
No.
So Phil G, I wish that's how the world worked. I wish that's how it worked with parents and teenagers and children. I'm not a parent, but I think every parent will agree that that's Not always how it works, although we would like it to be that simple. It's not that we're here because we have nothing better to do. We're here because this is a massive problem. I want you to realize something. Child trafficking is the second largest criminal enterprise in the world. Like, this is not top 20 or like one of all the bad topics we just thought would be good to talk about. This is literally bigger than all professional sports combined. So, point one, huge issue. Point two, I want to again talk about grooming one more time in just a very simplified way. We actually did a whole live topic about it. You can watch the replay on YouTube. Grooming is something to desensitize the child and gradually gain their trust. Let me say that more simply. Grooming is something the children don't normally realize is a tactic being used to later abuse them. So
To break down
like,
their defenses is what it is. Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's also to make them feel bad when you want to report, when they've had it, or if they go to the police, they don't want to get their offender in trouble because they've made them like them or feel bad
100%.
for them.
A lot of times, yeah, absolutely. Like, it's generally not the boogeyman just sort of kidnapping a child. It's generally some sort of tactic like, oh, let me give you some candy. I know your mom doesn't let you have some, but this is our little secret because you're so special, you're so beautiful, etc. So they build this secretive relationship with the child to, first of all, desensitize them and gain their trust. But the secretive relationship is something I want you to also be aware of. That's intentional and that can lead to other things. So point one, a child is not aware of what's going on or even how to define abuse. I've seen comments that say, I didn't speak up, I wasn't aware until I was 30. Fun fact, I escaped child trafficking when I was 20. And at 30 years old, I realized I was trafficked for the first 20 years of my life. I want people to understand that a child does not comprehend this. They often don't know they're being abused. They often have it's called trauma bonding, but a bond with their predator where they don't want to hurt them. Maybe the abuser is even lying to them, obviously, but threatening them, tell them, hey, if you tell someone, I'm going to hurt your parents. If you tell someone, they're going to take you away from your parents. Everybody else is wrong. You're the only one that's right. I'm the only one that's safe. Everybody else is evil. I'm being a little bit, I'm emphasizing this for the sake of people understanding. I wish it was as easy as if something bad happens, a kid will come tell you. I'm asking you, I am begging you to not leave the responsibility of evaluating the situation and reporting abuse in the hands of a child. Because I promise you, that's not how it works. So the more we are aware, the more we can do about it.
Yeah,
That's
we can
exactly
encourage
what
them till we're blue in the face, but they don't always come to mommy and daddy when something's wrong. And even as much as we've kind of hammered that into our children, you can tell us anything. Let's make sure you're okay. And our daughter, bless her heart, and when she was younger, there was a boy at a neighbor's house that tried to make moves on her. She screamed and she pitched holy hell, and she got out of there and she made a stink and she stood up for herself. But they don't always do that, and we've found out things after the fact. I mean, our boy, we found out it was an elementary school teacher. He didn't sexually molest our son, but he psychologically started attacking him, psychologically beating him down. And what this creeper had done was pick a child each year who didn't have a strong father figure in the home. And it wasn't that Caden, our son, didn't have a strong father. Is that I was deploying over in the war zones as a contractor to feed my family. So I wasn't home a lot. And that was enough to open the door to this predator. Said, this child's kind of not that protected. I'll start he'll be my target, and I'll start jacking with his little mind, and I'll just start. And we picked up on it because our son started withdrawing. An outgoing, beautiful soul who the teachers and children used to run to the car when we'd let him out to go to school right there on the curbside. Caden! And it was this big celebration. And all of a sudden he got quiet his third grade year and started withdrawing. We're like, what the heck's wrong with him? We started volunteering for more field trips and to go sit in the classroom because there was an option to do that on certain occasions. And we just started digging in and finding out. And finally, one of the other teachers said, yeah, it's to my wife, this teacher is not good. Here's a little bit of what's going on. So, man, we had to force the issue on the principal because the principal and this guy had an inappropriate relationship, right? And the principal didn't want to get rid of this guy. We had to force him to say, no, he's going, and if he doesn't go, you're going.
They
You're
feel so
fired. We're out of
safe.
here. We
Everybody,
will
a
bring
lot
the
of people
media.
feels.
We will bring law enforcement. We are not going to stop. We are going to go loud. Your name's going to be everywhere. Your face is going to be everywhere. We will not stop because what you're doing is harmful. We're not asking for anything special. We're just asking for the children to be protected while they go through school here. And if you're going to let this happen, we will destroy everything until you stop. So sometimes you have to just turn up the heat, and make it happen. But yeah, children won't always come to you. Sometimes you find out after it's too late. So just
And I,
Right.
back
I
you
want to
guys up.
say very quickly, guys, I really appreciate y'all allowing me to come on here. You guys do amazing work. I really feel like if we can keep putting this message out there, that hopefully, again, that spark will turn into a wildfire.
There you
Because
go.
that's what it's going to take to get this out there for everybody to see.
That's what we want.
They let them pedophiles know we mean business.
Or
Let the
how
good
about
humans know
just
that we mean
checking
business.
your area, which there is an app for who's on the registry, so you know who to look out for. Period. You
Yeah.
have a general idea.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think I'm the only parent that did that.
Yeah.
But I just want to say that, guys. I'm sorry. I gotta get ready for bed. I gotta be up early in the morning.
Well,
Uh,
we love you,
much
Swifty.
Hey,
much
thanks
love
for
to
coming on
everyone
and
in
Being
pitching
here.
in.
here.
We appreciate you.
Y'all are amazing. You guys have a
Thank
All
good
you.
right.
night.
Yes, sir. You too.
Back at you. Thank you.
Yeah, good people pitching in, man, for the little ones. It's inspiring. It encourages me. I see a lot of darkness and there's a lot of frustration, a lot of admin stuff for me as a warrior. I don't like, as far as running an org. I just want to stop people from raping children. Why do I have to do all this paperwork and all this stuff that drives me nuts? But man, it's worth it. And to see that it's working when I go speak places and people come up and hug me with tears in their eyes saying it's working. People are having the conversation. People are here talking. They've seen Contraland. They've gone to your website. They know it's spreading. People are becoming aware. They're writing their elected officials. They're briefing their children. It's starting. It's growing. And I'm just like, thank you, thank you, thank you,
Hopefully,
thank you.
people aren't thinking it's just a presidential thing and starting to look in their areas about who to support and who not, and who backs those issues.
Yeah, from the ground up. We've got to start from the bottom up and make sure
Right.
our little ones are protected. And we are served by our elected officials, our public servants, our servant leaders, I like to call them. Make sure that we've got good ones that are listening to us, because now a lot of them, they're listening to cash from another country in too many cases. That's got to be changed so that our
Absolutely.
little ones are protected.
And we'll see
And I
how
have,
I
these.
got someone else I think I can bring in here.
sure. Sawman, I
Stephanie,
have a
let's
question for you to answer as well. I've seen this come up in the comments a lot. Just to summarize, but I've seen a lot of these comments. So there's the statute of limitation. That means there's a cutoff to when action can be taken for child abuse. Point one. Point two, and I know this from experience, it's incredibly hard to prove it. In other words, something that happened behind closed doors when you were a child, years later, there is no physical evidence. There's no way to really prove this, and it makes it very difficult. So even if you were to bring up like names and dates and locations, there's not really tangible evidence. So is there anything that we, the people, should know about? Let's say this happened to somebody a long time ago and they're just now bringing it to light and wanting to, this predator to have justice. What's a way that they could handle that situation?
That's a really difficult one. You're talking basically about a cold case file. And there
Right.
are organizations that, investigator organizations, and some better than others, that specialize in cold cases. And they'll take something that's believed to be a dead case and go and start digging. And it's difficult, but sometimes there's a break. And I would say if you are a victim and your predator is still alive, there's always hope. And we could start putting some stuff, Kim, on our website about it. I could start, as a federal criminal investigator, I've still got a lot of materials and a lot of my friends that are still feds we could start compiling data and techniques and information on how to start building a case, how to start documenting what did happen from a witness perspective and a victim's perspective, and then whatever evidence might be able to be there to be able to back it up, and other witnesses as well. So there are things that can be done. And so maybe we can start putting together a page or a package on that to help people.
With your history, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I was saying I really like that. And then Shama was saying there's a new law called the look back window. Are you familiar with that, Craig?
I've heard it, but I'm not immediately familiar with the look back window.
Me neither.
Sounds like something I'd like to learn more about.
Yes. Ash Grace says, my main thing with those who abuse me is making sure they do not have any additional victims. I think for a lot of us, it's even more so than getting revenge or justice. It's about, are they still harming other children?
Yeah.
It's
Tressa
not like
calls
they're going
what
to
we
stop
do.
with one.
Yeah, Tressa calls what we do right fighters. She goes, Craig, this is several years ago. She goes, we're right fighters, us. And I'm like, what do you mean? She said, well, these people are stomping on everybody's lives throughout their careers or their own lives, and nobody stops them until they run across us in some cases. And they ran across the wrong couple. And we figure out how to demonstrate the factual evidence and the truth between the two of us, and we hammer them. We drop the hammer on them, and we put a stop to them, and they can abuse no more because we take their ability, we take their job, their position of authority that they're abusing from them. In a lot of cases, they can't even qualify to get a job in that capacity anymore, or we put them in prison, as the cases when we rallied around our daughter and helped put her abductor and a rapist away. So, a lot of it is just it's having the will to stand up and say no more and do something. But it is also about stopping them from harming others. Child rapists don't tend to stop. That's a serial predation type of behavior. And all the studies that I'm aware indicate that is one of the only things that they can identify that can't really be rehabilitated from. And I wouldn't mean to say that there's no hope for somebody that's done that they can't stop. And should you stop yourself? Absolutely, 100%. But there have been a lot that have been in prison that have said, yeah, I'll tell the court-appointed counselors whatever they want to hear to let me out, but I'll never stop. And we have to realize that sometimes, no matter what the nature of the predator, when we can gather the evidence and put a stop to it, it's not about revenge. It's about justice. And we need to bring them to account and stop them from that destructive behavior and abusive behavior because they continue to harm others until somebody stops.
With all of your education, is there any other, like, murder doesn't have a statute of limitations?
I found it. Sorry, that was Siri. Go ahead.
It's okay. Certain things don't have a statute. Is there anything else that has a statute of limitations besides women and children being violated?
Yeah, there are quite a few crimes that have statute of limitations. You can only, and I think the spirit of that that legislation is in, a timely trial. If somebody does something, there's a reasonable, or it was apparently deemed reasonable period of time that you should get at prosecuting them. And, if he's 90 years old, throwing him in prison for a bar fight he had when he was 17 may not be really all that just, or something like that. That may be a bad example, but I think that from my memory, that was the intent of that legislation, is that, that there be some sort of limit, because people do change. I mean, my dad was a pastor, and he would go into the prisons and minister to the convicts there in the WIN unit, Huntsville State Prison. And he would tell them, hey, look, maybe you've given up your right to live in society because you've broken their rules and you've done harm, but your soul's still absolutely good to go for God. He loves you, and you can absolutely change your behavior right this moment. And I encourage you to, and change who you are immediately. We serve a great God, and He's that forgiving. And you should immediately abandon your abusive nature and change. And there's the ability to do that. So, people, and I've seen a lot of stories of people that have gone into prison, horrible people, horrible abusers, and came out and never hurt anybody again, and lived very, very honorable lives as changed men and women. They changed in there. So that can happen. And I think a part of it's when somebody's in an abusive mindset and they're a predator and they're doing that, go ahead and grab them and hammer them and put them away and let them pay for it.
I really like what Ash Grace says here. She says, these things often run in families. Simply speaking, and removing their access to kids breaks the cycle. Absolutely, Ash. We talked about this last week, but one of the things that these child predators fear the most is exposure. So if the law enforcement officers or, if other people aren't taking it seriously, I can guarantee you they don't want their other church members to know. They don't want their family to know. So by you exposing them, that is not only a form of justice, but that is a way to alert them that people are watching them. That could be a way to prevent other children from experiencing their abuse. It's difficult, I think, for survivors to hear things like, can the predator change, or is there, hope for healing? What's difficult is that regardless of if the predator decides to have a change of heart, the child or children that they inflicted pain on are going to have to live with that pain throughout their entire life. Now, I consider myself very fortunate not only to have the mental wherewithal to consider myself a survivor from something most people don't survive. There's a way, I believe that healing is a choice. This is the short version. We did a whole episode on healing. It's not easy. I believe that it is possible, no matter who you are. And I'm saying that both as a survivor and as someone who has older siblings and friends who are not okay to this day, in their 50s. They are not okay because of something that happened to them 40 years ago. So I want people to face this reality that, yes, by all means, I think there's always the opportunity and the option to heal. I think that child predators, though, again, it's not an accident. It's not something that, oops, they slip and fall and do. This is an intentional abuse of children. So forgiveness is between them and God. That's not a decision that I'm here to make for them. I do think that it's possible for them to change their ways, but I want them and the people to realize that just because they have a change of heart doesn't fix or support or make the victim feel heard in any way. That's not helping victims. So what I would like to see is more support and more understanding, and not just sympathy, because I don't think any of us are just here, none of us just want to be, sympathized with and people feel bad for us and people cry when they hear our stories. It's about action, you guys. It's about, okay, great, thank you. What are we doing about this? What are we actually doing to rectify this? Last week when we had the discussion about how predators gain access, something we brought to light is that just because the person is sitting next to you in church and praying to the same God you pray to doesn't necessarily mean that they're trustworthy or safe for your children. A lot of predators hide in plain sight. Most predators statistically consider themselves religious. That means that they can be praying to the same God as you and somehow justify it within their minds to also simultaneously be living a double life where they abuse children. So this is, again, not to instill fear in people. It's not to make you fear and mistrust everybody. It is to raise your awareness and be aware. So when somebody has that sick, twisted desire to harm children, I'm using soft words, okay, but I'm being clear here. When they have this unsatiable desire to harm children, that's not necessarily something that can easily be healed. But more importantly, what are they doing to heal and give support to the victims that suffered from their abuse. It's one thing to ask God for forgiveness and to hug and cry and pray and say,
There's no
I'm sorry.
restitution for that.
I would like people to consider that. So again, forgiveness is up to them and God. One last thing I'll say on this, Craig, this is my personal opinion. I just think it's interesting because we were talking about the subject of forgiveness when we were talking about healing and overcoming. And again, it's a long story, but short version, it's difficult to forgive and forget. Like, I think we would all like to forget. That's not always possible for all of us. Forgiveness is also difficult because, again, it's not an accident. I personally, this is my own personal belief, I believe that child abuse is an unforgivable sin. I'm not talking about a parent losing their temper at a child and disciplining them. I'm talking about abusing a child. I believe it's not something that is necessarily forgivable by me. But what I can do for the sake of my healing and my recovery and my overcoming is I can release. And that's powerful because that means I'm not holding on to the shame and the toxicity and the guilt and all the things that hold you back and keep you in that victim mode. Craig,
And
I
destroy
want
your
your
health.
opinion.
You're not
Destroy
a
your health, destroy
survivor.
your relationships.
You're not just a survivor. You're a warrior.
Yeah, action's
Yeah.
where it's at, man. That's how we fix things.
There's no
Absolutely.
like, you've taken action to the point where very few do, and it's really incredible.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I don't feel like I have the choice. I don't feel like the other option of doing nothing is even feasible to me. And again, I'm saying this not as a mom or someone who's a parent.
No.
I'm saying this as someone who simply cannot stand by and watch this
Or put your head
continue.
on a pillow and know that all these children are being abused.
100%. If there's
You
something
don't have
I can
to be a
do,
mom.
absolutely. At this point, if people aren't taking action blatantly, they are choosing not to. This is a choice. This is a decision. We can't blame ignorance when we have things like the internet out here telling everybody what's going on. Like, we are here to tell you this is real. This is not a theory. This is not just a nice idea. This is not something that just kind of happens in far, far away places. This is something that's happening in your schools and your community and your church and in your family. So again, awareness means no matter if it's a family barbecue or a church gathering or a sporting event or Disney World, you are looking after your children and the children around you. You're monitoring their body language and their response to other adults around them. When they pull away, when they don't want to hug that person, I want you to watch that. I want you to be aware of that. I want you to communicate with the child and ask questions. And I want you to listen and observe and take action.
And don't do that. Don't make your children hug and kiss people they don't want to. If you want to do like a pound or whatever, they don't have to like get that close to anybody.
Yeah, don't go sit in Uncle Jed's lap if the child's crying and doesn't want to. Like, don't make them. Yeah.
That's kind of how yeah.
Tyler, why did you hold out until the last 15 minutes, bro? You ducking me, bro? You hiding from me?
Oh, just a little bit. No. I figured you guys had it all under control. You guys are doing really good now. You know, everyone's chipping in, doing their own part. You know, I don't really need to be here as much, so it's really nice that everyone else is, seeing everyone come together. And
thank you. Thank you for setting this up.
It's very inspirational.
Yeah,
I want
that's what
everyone
encourages me to see it. I'm not alone, and that good people are linking arms and standing up and going, "Hey, you know what? There's power in numbers, and we all have something to say, and each of us has the will to do something about this."
Because,
like Kim says, action.
Whether you're a mom or not, or a dad or not, these children become adults, and then what happens? Mental health issues, drug and alcohol issues, and things that you can't really, like, you can come back from, but you're going to have to work at it. And it's all because of somebody that started it. So it's the only way, the best way is prevention and education for parents, because they really don't, like I said, have had these discussions, and even about sleepovers, I'm like, no, I would never let him sleep over. There's absolutely no reason for that. It's one of the most intimate times. It's at night. I have no supervision. It's not happening. And they think I'm insane. Or the way, like, I watch is crazy, or I talk honestly with my children, like even, it's definitely at their age level. I have a 13-year-old. So at some point you have to let go and let them make their mistakes or their, that way, but not in this way. This way is a manipulative cycle that has been crafted
Yeah.
like a
Well,
net or a fish hook. It's your kid has no real chance if somebody zeroes in on them except for you or somebody else standing up.
yeah. Yeah, I wish everyone had that instinct to protect. Some people go way overboard maybe in protecting, but I think the overwhelming majority is not enough. My wife says, "Hey, um, you show me an overprotective mom, and I'll show you one that was abused when she was little."
Well,
I'm
that's
like,
why I'm
"Yeah,
always asked. Yeah.
yeah."
But
And
my dad took it to a whole different level. He was extremely overprotective because he saw the opposite. He didn't see people get well. He saw the same people coming in and out.
revolving door kind of thing.
Correct. And he was the one in, in the group hearing everything that they did. So with 4 little kids at home, it was quite difficult.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I think we've covered a lot of good stuff in this chat, man. It's encouraging to see, and I appreciate everybody that's chimed in, that's commented, that's shared it, and that's gonna share it. Everybody that's spoken up, man, it's good to see this growing. I just look. I'll admit it. I need this. I need this encouragement. It feels good.
So
It's
many people
occurring to
talk
me as I
about
sit here. Yeah, as I
it's
sit here and see all the names and all the comments, I'm like, my God, this is what I've been fighting for, and this is why we're all here, is to grow this mission, grow this culture of us all standing up in our own way for the little ones. And I
but
think
I
if
want to
we're
say thank you to you and Kim because it's not an easy topic and everybody wants to be positive and not have serious conversations, and this is the most it's not easy to do this, but and to do it successfully, and you've both done that.
thank you. Yeah, and there's more to our team that you maybe will never see, that we're
Right.
grateful for as well, that are digging with us every day. But I like the idea of networking and sharing information. What do we all need to do? How do we coordinate? What's working? What's not working? What should we change? And so we get smarter as a group, and that one day it's not just a group; it's the populace understands what we're talking about, and understands the techniques that we're bringing out, because it's unfortunately it's needed. And one day I hope that it's not needed, and that's the whole objective, is just to have one day go, hey, remember back when there used to be child trafficking? And have them go, oh yeah, that was weird and creepy, wasn't that evil? I'm glad that's not around anymore. I
Well,
mean,
that's what I said too the other night. I said you used to have to get through me on the phone to get to him, and now it's not that way. And it's like it is because I have the phone connected, but for most parents, they don't know who's calling and their children or who they're texting.
yeah, yeah.
100%. Ash
And
Grace also says,
it's not an attack on parents either because they have jobs and they have other kids.
right.
It's just it's a whole nother level, but it's
Yeah.
necessary.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well,
Ash Grace
one
says, when we were
thing
talking before about being overprotective, Ash Grace says, my mom was, quote, overprotective, and I was still abused chronically. Again, it's something we are not saying that parents, again, we're giving grace to single parents, to parents in general who are raising kids in this crazy world. It's not an easy job. We're not here to act like it's easy or like you guys should just do better. The problem is that this opponent is wildly strategic. They are right in front of you and people don't see it. So with raising people's awareness, we're teaching you the various tactics and techniques that predators use, because there is somewhat of a pattern. There's so many variables with every situation, but there is a pattern that you can watch for. It generally starts with grooming. It's normally more than 90% of the time, statistically, someone the child knows and is supposed to be able to trust. So
If
I would
someone's taking too much of an interest in your child, there's a problem.
absolutely. And again, please learn about grooming if you're not familiar with what that is. vetsforchildrescue.org. We have an entire very long page about what grooming is and detailing it for you, because we need you to be aware. So I would rather people be overprotective than underprotective. But to her point, just because you're being protective, sometimes it takes looking deeper than that. Sometimes it takes just going beyond the general good parenting skills. And it's unfortunate on the one hand, yes, we live in that world. That's a sad reality. The sooner you face that reality, the more empowered you can be to protect your children.
Yeah, you almost can't be overly protective. It's just a matter of how effective your protection is. And the smarter you are on it, the more you educate yourself on the nature of the threat, the more effective your protection will be. And I think that's what we're all working together to try to establish here. I think we're all trying to find the right words, but it's a matter of empowering parents to be the most effective at protecting their little ones.
And slowly, as they grow up, communicating that you're always there. Nothing will ever make you not love them. There's nothing that can ever be their fault in that situation. And nobody's ever going to hurt me, so don't worry about it if someone says that they will.
Yeah, that's another tactic that is apparently very common is predators try to use fear and scare the victim. Hey, if you, not only will I hurt you, but I'll hurt your mommy and daddy. I'll hurt them. Man, we love the idea here in this household of telling their children, nobody's going to hurt your mommy and daddy. That is not something you ever need to worry about. If someone says that to you, you throw that burden off. Don't let that work on you.
But
It's
throw the
just terrible
person
that,
away too.
yeah, and let us know exactly when they say that that's a bad person.
And people
You
keep
come
saying in
straight
the
to us.
comments about your kid coming in. It's about your kid coming and talking to you. And I mean, my kid's 13. He's going through puberty. There's things he's not going to talk to me about. And there's ways that predators find of silencing your children. And that's not going to change. You need to be extremely aware of their behavior.
Yeah.
Absolutely. There's a comment I would love for Craig to address. He's actually addressed this on a lot of different podcasts and interviews. Dream Power Therapy says, what can we do about CPS being #1 agency to traffic children?
Well, CPS is a state-run agency, and the most frequent scenario I've seen reports of, and we're well, I won't say anything outside of that, is that CPS will approach a single mom usually because they're a softer target, especially a minority mom that may be working multiple jobs and maybe she's
Scare
got
her to
multiple
death.
kids
Yep.
and she's doing her level best, maybe. Or maybe she's an abusive mom, but in a lot of cases, what I'm being told is that there may be a mom that's doing her best, and CPS can roll in there with a big cash incentive that they get for taking the children from the biological parent and saying, nah, we're looking at your kids, and for whatever reason we decide, because we're the authority, we're deeming you an unfit parent, and we're taking your child or your children, and she may not know what legal recourse she has, and they take her children from them and put them into the foster care system. And we all know that there are good foster care parents, loving ones, and we all know that there are abusive foster care parents. So the children get handed from house to house, home to home, until they're off the books and then sold like a piece of meat. Go destroy this child however you want to and throw him in a hole. That's just unthinkable. But how do we do something about it? Because it's a state-run agency, again, from the ground up, we get our hands into the system, get to our local board meetings and so forth, and climb the chain of command and say, look, we want a better checks and balances. We want better oversight, and we don't want a counterproductive cash incentive to take children from biological parents and no incentive for reuniting them with their biological parents. Or we all want children taken from a crack-headed parent who's beating and raping their children, right? I think we can all agree that's an extreme case where we want the child taken out of that harm and taken and put in a loving home. But we don't want them taken from viable parents. And so there's just something that we have to figure out. I think the opportunity is in us figuring out how can we improve the system? Because there's a lot of people in CPS doing honest, good work. And there's others that getting rich,
But they're
getting
also
cash
overrun
incentives.
and
And
understaffed.
yeah. So the stat thing is, and the cash incentive, in a lot of cases, it's counterproductive. So that's one example of what we might want to revisit. And we got to get smart at writing out, well, then what should the procedure be? We have the opportunity to submit that. Here's how we want that entity to run in our state. And so that's what we have to get busy doing. I don't have all the answers on how CPS should run, but I'm just disheartened to hear so many reports that there is a widespread abuse. So
Yeah,
the magic
absolutely.
is in how we figure out the solutions and force them into play.
No.
Look, guys, I think we're getting close to the end of this. Kim, do you have any updates that you want to get out?
No, I think just as a last, thank you to everyone for being here. And also, please, 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 if you don't know who Vets for Child Rescue is, we are a nonprofit. We're dedicated to exposing and eradicating child trafficking, specifically in the USA. Please go to our website. It's vetsforchildrescue.org. There's so much information on there. Everything we've covered today is on the website. I promise you. It's a dedicated page. It's an interview under media and interviews. It's on there. We've talked about this. We are unafraid to talk about this. So please do yourself a favor. Get empowered.
Oh,
get
I'm going to
educated.
know that website inside and out.
Please do study that. This is literally a manual. We also have a free documentary. It's a very professionally produced, very well put together film that exposes the infrastructure and the culture behind child trafficking in the USA. And it also gives you a glimpse into our counter trafficking operations. You get to see how and when these bad guys get arrested. And for everybody wondering, Vets for Child Rescue has a 100% conviction rate on these child predators. That's a huge part because, yes, to everybody's point, a lot of times the judicial system is so messed up that these people don't get put behind bars. So please, please, please learn more, study this website. If you have any questions after all of that research and information, we are more than happy to take your feedback, take your questions. We also go live on this account every Thursday at 7 p.m. Central Time. We address a new topic every week. We also have a weekly radio show. So again, if you go to vetsforchildrescue.org, on the top of the website, you can click on that banner and you can listen to all these latest episodes. So we are spreading this word in as many places as we can find. I want to bring your attention both to give appreciation to Tyler and also to make you aware that this is something everyone can do something to be part of the solution. Tyler has been a friend of Craig. He's a veteran. He saw the need to spread the word on TikTok. So he started this child rescue TikTok account and he's blowing it up. And he's organized these lives every week. Something as simple as spreading the word on your social media account, as liking our posts, as sharing our posts, as commenting on our posts, I promise you there's something you can do to be part of the solution. So please check out the website. I'm going to type it right now in the comments. And if you have any questions or feedback from us, we are always here to help and be responsive.
Be encouraged, everybody. Together we are what we can't be alone. We can be the solution. Everybody has an opportunity to pitch in different ways.
Exactly.
And I just want to say thank you for letting a newbie in the box and stating their opinion and letting me stay. So I really appreciate that.
we appreciate
Very
your
welcome.
feedback and everything involved
Yeah.
with that.
Oh,
That was
thank
very
you.
awesome you did that.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
it's organic, let people in, let people talk, I mean,
And honestly,
it's
for
good.
people who are laymen, and I don't know if they get it wrong, I've heard a lot of um truth and I've learned a little bit from it. Law and Order SVU, I think, is a good, does give you some factual information on what to look for.
All right. Well, thanks,
Absolutely.
everybody.
So, well, I want to
Oof,
get one
love
more
it.
thing out
All right.
before we
Go,
close
Tyler.
out. Um, child sex trafficking is an industry that generates $150 billion annually. This is the world's second largest criminal organization and growing. It is time we focus our efforts to save these children. This industry holds no social, economic boundaries. Whatever your religion, ethnicity, wealth, social status, or social belief, you can make a societal change by preventing child sex trafficking in your corner of the world. Imagine if all of us focused upon this effort to save the children around us. Knowledge is power, not just for some of us, but for all of us. Join us and put our minds together and come up with the effective measures to protect the children around us. Everyone can join in this fight. None of us are experts in this except for a few of us. We just get in the fight and just trying to get after it. We do appreciate everyone helping out. And also another thing that we're going to be doing too is going to the IGY6 meetup event. We are going to be visiting with some of the people there, and hopefully we can meet some more people off TikTok and get them invited and join this live. So thank you all. I appreciate it, and y'all have a good one. And this continues or finishes our educational series that we're now putting out. So thank y'all.
Thank
See you,
you.
everybody. Stay well.